the species, etc.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
there's some interesting theories about why ancient civilization died out. Mayas or whatever we got, because they were not able to find a circle where those places where they extracted nutrients, the nutrients were not being replaced. And so the soil eventually became unproductive. And so my question here will be, okay, if we have a lot of alpaca in South America, right, we take all of that manure and ship it to Europe or Africa or elsewhere in the world. Okay, we will be depleting nutrients here.
Right.
How to get the circle where this comes back, or getting the circle running on a local scale. To what degree can we do that? Because sea minerals is all over the world, so that's not such a problem. Then that's talking specifically about the manure, how to do that on interacting economically and socially, or in so many other levels. I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's coming up for you, Henrik?
Oh, a lot of good stuff. But I'm trying to just orient myself here on this chart, on if we had to apply it to Brook, the situation. Would you start with structure and try to try to translate structure into where do you see structure, or where is structure needed in what she's been talking about?
Well, I think just to reiterate one point, the sort of what it would look like in a future which is ecologically functional, and there's what it might look like in that transition period, because this here is not possible for what we're talking about at this moment in time. And then the question becomes, how do the things that aren't possible at the moment get bridged or sort of made up for, or band-aided, so to speak, such that what Brook is doing provides value and an ability for transitional movement towards something that might be more available or possible in the future. So that's sort of, in some ways, that kind of then speaks to like, what can it be now, and what might it want to be moving towards?
Mm-hmm.
So like, and forgive me, Henry, it's really hard to talk about any of these in isolation because they're all kind of intermixed. But just taking the very simple idea as in living systems, you have an entity. It has a boundary around it, which sort of defines what's inside of it and what's outside of it. And what is outside of it is an environment. So you kind of have those two levels separated by a boundary, and that boundary is created by the entity itself. So if we then start to think about how that might apply to some, either to Brook's case or to other things that are currently in our sort of our human thinking or abstraction, what this kind of speaks to very concretely is the idea of localization. So these things are very local. So you kind of started to touch on this, Henrik, which is, how can you not have this massive supply chain of ingredients that gets shipped all around the world to be able to provide nutritious food in a specific place? What that might mean is the product could look very different in Africa as it does in South America, etc. So, for instance, that's like a very tangible thing that we might go and say, how can we do this locally? That would be